2025 NFL Draft is over. That means it's time to already take a look at the 2026 NFL Draft. This is our way too early mock draft. This is really just a way to get to know some of the players who might be in this upcoming draft class, who to look out for the next college football season. Don't worry too much about the team fits or even where these players are going. The draft order is also based off of reverse Super Bowl odds, so it's not something I determine, so that's very much going to fluctuate throughout the season as well. But let's go ahead and just dive into this draft. I'm going to preface this by saying that I don't think Arch Manning is going to be in this 2026 NFL Draft. I think he's going to stay for his senior season, be in the 2027 NFL Draft. So Arch Manning is ranked the number 4 player on PFF's board. He is not going to be going in this draft. But I do think we are going to have a quarterback go number 1. There's some really intriguing options. Cade Klubnik, Drew Allar, Garrett Nussmeier, Lanoris Sellers. There's a lot of guys in this draft that I think could be franchise-level quarterbacks based on what they showed last year. They all need some continued development, but I think Drew Allar is most likely going to be kind of the top guy. He's going to be at Penn State, which is a team I think is going to be really good this year. They're returning a lot of talent. He's got prototypical size. When you look at his frame and all of the things that he can do, 6'5", 235 pounds. He's 21 years old. I think he has a lot to his arsenal when it comes to his accuracy and his arm strength. I think he needs to continue to play up against really good competition. They run the football a lot, and some of the plays are a little bit gimmicky for Allar. So he needs to continue to prove that he can take care of the football, that he can make good decisions, be an accurate quarterback within structure, read out defenses, but I think he has all the tools to potentially be a number 1 overall pick. And number 2 for the Saints, I don't think they have their quarterback of the future on the roster either. I think that, this is definitely a location that a guy like Garrett Nussmeier could go. His dad, Doug Nussmeier, is the offensive coordinator for the Saints. I think, he plays at LSU. There's a lot of connection there. Nussmeier was my QB1 kind of late in the season last year before he decided that he was going to be staying at LSU. There was a lot to like in Nussmeier's game. I think he's a gunslinger. He absolutely, when he puts everything together, it's a thing of beauty. He has good pocket presence, can push the ball down the field. I think he has a good arm. He can be accurate. He is way too aggressive with his decision-making at times, and there's too many times that he just gives the ball to the defense or fits it into a really tight window that he really shouldn't throw it into. I think if he can clean up some of that decision-making and just become a little bit more consistent in his mechanics and his process, I do think Nussmeier has a chance to potentially be, a top 5 pick in this draft, and I could definitely see this draft having multiple quarterbacks go pretty early as well. Next up, number 3 for the Giants. I think this will be an interesting one. You kind of got to see if Jackson Dart is going to be their franchise quarterback. I think Brian Daboll, Joe Schoen, there's a decent chance that they're not on this staff and making these decisions next year. But does that mean that Jackson Dart's going to be given a chance, or maybe they will end up drafting someone? We're going to go with Caden Proctor, though. He was somebody that played left tackle for Alabama. He was a little bit up and down. There's a lot to like in Proctor's profile. 6'7", 369 pounds. He's gigantic, 19 years old. He showed serious improvement down the stretch, and I think he is somebody that in the SEC, playing left tackle, there's definitely a very good chance with his size, his athleticism, some of the talents that he has, there's a very good chance Proctor could potentially be, one of the top tackles taken in this draft, and I think that the Giants do take him to protect Jackson Dart and try to invest in their young quarterback. Number 4, the Titans. You obviously get Cam Ward this year. You could definitely look to surround him with some talent, offensive line, wide receiver. This wide receiver class, as of right now, doesn't have one of those true tippy-top star potential type guys. So we're going to go with the best player available. I think that's Caleb Downs, safety out of Ohio State. He is a true kind of free safety, but he is a playmaker. He'll come down, guard tight ends, running backs, slot receivers, and man coverage. He's just so instinctive. I really do think he is a significantly better safety prospect than Malachi Starks or Eamon Rory or any of the guys in this class, or really any guys we've had recently as well. Downs is a fantastic safety. Started for Alabama as a true freshman, came to Ohio State, was one of the best players on that championship team. I think he will absolutely be a top 10 pick, and depending on positional value, things like that, maybe a top 5 pick as well. For the Browns up next, quarterback is really interesting because you obviously have Dylan Gabriel, you have Shedeur Sanders. A lot of that is going to determine whether they end up taking one of these guys. Maybe it's no longer Stefanski making those decisions. I don't know that a 3rd round and a 5th round quarterback prevents you from taking a guy if you really like him. Cade Klubnik could be up there, but Lanoris Sellers is really interesting. He's super athletic. He is somebody that has a lot of talent at South Carolina to work with in the SEC. I think there's a good chance that Sellers puts a lot more together than he did last year and kind of vaults himself into a top 5 pick consideration for this upcoming draft. And I can definitely see the Browns taking a swing on him if neither of Sanders or Gabriel really takes that job and really earns it this upcoming season. Next up for the Panthers, they want to continue to develop this defense. TJ Parker is a really interesting player out of Clemson, 87.4 PFF grade, had 12 sacks. He was really productive as well. You can kind of line him up everywhere, but really he is a true, 4'3" defensive end at 6'3", 265 pounds. He is just a good run defender, has some juice. He can win with speed to power. He is definitely kind of a guy that has a chance to potentially be a top 10 pick, be a really productive edge rusher, and be that number 1 alpha that the Panthers have been looking for. At number 7 for the Raiders, we're going to go with Peter Woods out of Clemson. They have him listed as an edge, but he's more of a defensive tackle. You can see he kind of has a lot of different alignments, but he's a big guy. He's 6'3", 315 pounds. Him and Parker are going to be a really disruptive force on that Clemson defensive line. They also have Capehart, who is another guy who's going to be a disruptive force on that line. So they've got some really good defenders in their front 7. He's a really good run defender, 89.7 PFF run defense grade, a 14.9 pass rush win rate, which is excellent for an interior player. So that's why we are going to go with Peter Woods at number 7 here. At number 8 for the Colts, going to go back to the defensive line well again. We're going to look at Keldrick Falk out of Auburn. He had an 83.8 PFF grade, 9 sacks last year. He is another guy who can kind of line up over the tackle, outside the tackle, occasionally line up inside as well, but he's 6'6", 288 pounds. He's a big physical edge rusher. He is somebody that, definitely produced at a very young age for Auburn. He is still developing some of his pass rush moves, but he's this big, long, physical type guy that has SEC experience. I think there's a good chance that he can kind of get into that conversation of being a top 10 pick for this 2026 draft. Next up at number 9, the Browns back on the clock thanks to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They get this pick for the Travis Hunter trade. We're going to be looking at Isaiah World, the tackle He's from Oregon. He transferred from Nevada, was there for multiple years. Their left tackle, played there for 4 seasons, one of them being a redshirt year. Now he's transferring to Oregon, one of the best kind of transfer targets in the entire country. World is somebody that has some nice size, 6'8", 309 pounds. He's definitely, I think, going to come into his own as a tackle at Oregon this year as they look to replace both Connerly and Johnny Cornelius. I think World will have some really, really nice tools to work with and potentially vault himself into the first round conversation. Then at number 10 for the New England Patriots, we're going to be looking at the tackle well as well. I think it will depend where Will Campbell kind of ends up. They're going to give him a chance at tackle. He might end up sliding into guard, but I also think right tackle is still definitely a need as well. Morgan Moses, is there, but he's not your long-term option. Francis Mauigoa, the tackle from Miami, he played right tackle, 913 snaps in 2024 at right tackle. He has experience doing that, and I think that, he's a 5-star recruit. He's very big, physical, 6'6", 315 pounds. He's also, a guy that I think is developing as a run blocker, but there's some need for refinement in his game, but I think Mauigoa could potentially be a really nice right tackle fit for them to have Campbell and Mauigoa as your franchise cornerstones to protect Drake May at quarterback. Then at number 11 for the Rams, they got this pick from the Atlanta Falcons when they traded up for James Pierce Jr. I'm going to go with Avion Terrell out of Clemson. He is A.J. Terrell's brother, and I think he's shown a lot of improvement. He's somebody 5'11", 180 pounds, doesn't have this ridiculous size, but he's very big and physical. He'll come up and, tackle really efficiently. He's not always the biggest guy, but he plays big, and he's very physical, has the speed and ability to stick with guys in man coverage. I like his instincts. Terrell is somebody that I think is going to have a really good season. This Clemson defense is going to be ferocious, and Terrell's somebody that I think can benefit and be a really high draft pick in 2026 as well. At number 12 for the Seahawks, we're also going to go corner. Look at Jermon McCoy out of Tennessee. He was a transfer for Tennessee last season and played fantastic in his first season in the SEC. He was kind of their number one corner, looked big, physical, 6 foot, 193 pounds. He is just, a really big guy with great ball skills, really good athleticism. He can match man-to-man with pretty much any wide receiver in the country. I think there's a very good pick. McCoy is going to be a first-round pick and potentially the first corner off the board as well. At number 13, we are looking at the Miami Dolphins and Spencer Fano, another offensive tackle, this one out of Utah. He had a great 92.7 PFF grade in 2024. He played predominantly right tackle, which I think, the Dolphins could absolutely use. I'm not a big fan of Austin Jackson. Fano is somebody who definitely has some good athleticism to his game. He can be effective in this wide zone system. He's a great athlete. As just a true sophomore last year, he looked really good. And I think that, the running game is really where he thrives. He's big, he's physical, he's nasty. He also is developing as a pass blocker as well, so I think he could potentially be a first-round pick, and there's a lot of good offensive tackles, it seems, that could develop into really nice, big, physical maulers in this draft. At number 14 for the Cowboys, Jeremiah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame. He is somebody that was playing really hobbled in the playoffs, so he didn't get to show off just how good he was, but had over 1,100 yards, 17 touchdowns for Notre Dame, and, he's got good size, 6 foot, 206. A lot of people thought Jeremiah Love was kind of up there with Ashton Jeanty as far and away the best running backs in the country. So, if he is anything close to as good as Ashton Jeanty was last season, Love should be a bona fide first-round pick and somebody that goes pretty high in this draft despite being a running back. At number 15 for the Cardinals, we're going to go to the wide receiver room and look at Jordan Tyson. There's no wide receivers who really have stuck off the board as being, true, dominant, number one wide receivers, but I think there's a lot of potential for some of these guys to develop. For Tyson, at Arizona State last year, he had over 1,000 yards, did have some injuries that kept him out of, the Big 12 championship game as well as the college football playoffs where, I think Arizona State absolutely missed him. 6'1", 195 pounds. He really kind of came on late towards the end of last season. Sam Levitt, I think, is going to have a big season with Arizona State once again, and Tyson's going to be his primary weapon. So I think the Cardinals could look to pair him with Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. and have a really nice, complete wide receiver room there. And at quarterback for the Steelers, they did pretty much nothing to address this position. I'm going to have them take Cade Klubnik out of Clemson. Earlier on in his career, I wasn't a big fan of Cade Klubnik's game. I thought he was not very good in 2023 and before that as well. But 2024, he looked like a different player. 89.3 PFF grade, had 36 touchdowns to just 6 interceptions. He's somebody that I actually did kind of like. I had a third-round grade on him coming into the 2025 NFL draft, and I think he has plenty of room to improve. 6'2", 210 pounds. I think he showed massive improvement last year, and if he continues to show some of that progression, I think there's a very good chance he could turn into a first-round pick. The Bears at number 17 next, think they would want to add to the defensive line, and Ruben Bain out of Miami is a really interesting player. As a true freshman, he was awesome, had 9 sacks, was a really good dominant player. Last season took a little bit of a step back, so it's going to be if he can get back to that true freshman form, really develop. His run defense grade is really good. It's just about kind of continuing to develop some of those pass rush moves. He has 73 total pressure since 2023, which is really nice. Has good size at 6'3", 275 pounds. So Bain's somebody who needs to get fully healthy and be able to get back to his really early form, but I think if he can definitely develop into a really nice player. The Broncos at number 18 up next. I think they could look to add another weapon for Bo Nix, and I'm going to look at Denzel Boston, the wide receiver out of Washington. He put up some nice stats last season, 834 yards, 9 touchdowns, in an offense that wasn't very efficient for most of the season. Damon Williams, the quarterback for Washington, I think showed some really nice flashes, and I think him and Boston are going to develop a really nice connection in the Big Ten this year. His ideal size, 6'4", 209 pounds. He can be that big physical ball winner up in the air, be a true X wide receiver, and I think he could put a lot of things together and potentially be a first-round pick this year, and you hope for a very productive season for him because the traits are there. At number 19 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, looking at the edge rush room again, we're going to look at Tyreek Sapp out of Florida. Really productive season, 90.4 PFF grade, 8 sacks. For him in 2024. He's another big, versatile type player, 6'2", 272 pounds. He's big, he's physical, looks like one of the best on Florida's roster last season. I think there's a very good chance with a lot of the traits that he has that he can continue to develop and be a really nice player as another edge rusher that, this is a very trench-heavy draft. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman, I think is the real strength of this class, and I think that's no different here with this selection at number 19. At number 20 for the Texans, You lose Stephon Diggs. Tank Dell's health is a question mark as well. You have Nico Collins, but I think they could look to add another wide receiver. And I'm going to go Carnell Tate out of Ohio State. I think with the departure of Emeka Egbuka, he's going to have a little bit more opportunities. Jeremiah Smith's still the true number one at Ohio State, but Ohio State just cranks out great wide receivers. And Tate, I think with a little bit of a bigger opportunity to kind of take on more responsibility, he could absolutely kind of take the reins of that and be a good player. Has a great catch radius. He's somebody that has reliable hands, had 733 yards last season as a kind of true third option. So I think Tate could really develop, be a nice player. 6'3", 191 pounds. You want to see him get a little bit bigger, but Ohio State just cranks out talented wide receivers, and Tate, I think, is kind of going to be next in line before we get Jeremiah Smith in 2027. And number 21 for the Vikings, going to go to the safety position with Dylan Thieneman he's now at Oregon, played at Purdue the past 2 seasons, was really, really good in 2023. Took a little bit of a step back in 2024, but I think that was predominantly because, as you can see here, he was just played as a true free safety much less in 2024, which is really where he thrives. He's that true kind of center fielder, has great athleticism, great instincts, where he can come up and make plays on the football when he is kind of able to be on the back end of that defense, reading the quarterback's eyes. I think Oregon is going to use him really effectively, and I think he could absolutely turn into a really, really nice player and a safety that is worth a first-round selection. And number 22 for the Chargers, and again, we're going to go to the trenches and take LT Overton out of Alabama. There were some thoughts that he might come out this past year and go into the 2025 draft, but decided to return to school. I think he needs to continue to develop some pass rush moves. He's a big, long, powerful guy, 6'5", 283 pounds. He had a 18% pass rush win rate. He was a great run defender. I think he just needs to have some more production. I think at Alabama, he's going to have great opportunities to do so. He spent his first 2 seasons at Texas A&M, where notoriously they just don't get a lot of production. Transferred to Alabama and definitely showed improvement. So I think that there's decent, reasonable expectations that he could continue to develop his game and turn into kind of the next great Alabama pass rusher. The 49ers at number 23, we're going to go with Jake Slaughter out of Florida. He's one of the best interior offensive linemen in this class. He predominantly has played center for Florida, and I think the 49ers could look to have a long-term replacement for Brendel at center, but I think Slaughter could also slot into guard as well. He's battle-tested in the SEC, has gone up against a lot of really talented people, 82.1 PFF grade, has good size as well, 6'4", 308, so I think Slaughter absolutely has a chance to be one of the best pure interior offensive linemen coming off the board in 2026. The Packers up next at number 24. This is a guy who I think definitely has some potential to get on some more people's radars as the draft kind of approaches and we get more into some of the tape. Chandler Rivers out of Duke, 90.7 PFF grade. He is just a playmaker on the ball, has really good instincts. He kind of lines up everywhere, the slot, true outside corner. You just move him around a lot, and he's a playmaker. He'll come up and be physical. He definitely has, great ball skills, great forced incompletion percentage. Doesn't have the best size at 5'10", 180, but I think he's one of those guys who just has really good instincts, is just constantly around the ball making plays, and somebody that the Packers could absolutely use on the back end of that defense. Number 25 for the Commanders, going to go Anthony Hill Jr. out of Texas. He's kind of this athletic freak who has contributed from a very young age. He's 6'3", 235. He just kind of flies around the field, makes plays pretty consistently. He's just a very versatile, athletic kind of defender that I think that the Commanders could really like on their defense as maybe they move on from Bobby Wagner in the future. And number 26 for the Bengals, we are going to go once again to the defensive end and we're going to be looking at Mateo Uiagalelei, the defensive end from Oregon. He's this big, long, physical guy at 6'5", 270. He's 19 years old, going to be, going into his true junior season at Oregon. He's somebody that needs to continue to put things together. Had 9 sacks last season, a massive improvement from 2 the year before. So he's another versatile guy who can line up in a lot of different ways. He's big, he's physical, and once again, I think Oregon has a lot of talent on this defense, and he could absolutely be the beneficiary of that and potentially be a first-round selection. At number 27, another developmental guy from Oregon. It's going to be tight end Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon. He lined up behind Terrence Ferguson, so didn't have a ton of opportunities, last season. But when he did get his opportunities, he played pretty well. 307 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's kind of going to be, a projection pick for sure when you see that he's probably only going to have one real year of major production, but when he was out there, he looked good. 6'3", 245. He's athletic. Somebody that I do think can absolutely kind of climb up the board pretty quick and could potentially sneak into that first round if he has a really productive season at Oregon this year. At number 28 for the Lions, I think they could add to the corner room, and Malik Muhammad is a really nice player. He's maybe not the most crazy athletic, most physical kind of guy, but I think he has really good instincts. 6 foot, 190 pounds. I think that, he plays a lot like kind of that Jahdae Barron type of mentality where he's not the most physically imposing. He's not the quickest, most ridiculous athletes, but he's just so good at playing with good instincts, recognizing what's happening in front of him. And I think he absolutely could potentially find himself in a conversation to be a first rounder as well. So Malik Muhammad here to the Lions at 28. At number 29 for the Chiefs, I'm going to go with another interior offensive lineman. That's Caden Green out of Missouri. He played left guard for Missouri. Did have a little tiny bit of tackle play in 2023, but I think he is going to be more of an interior player. He's got good size, 6'5", 316 pounds, just 20 years old. I definitely think he has an upward projection and somebody that, may not end up being a first-round pick, but I think he has some really nice talent that could potentially get him in that conversation. And I think it is a need for the Chiefs as well, as they have lost Joe Thuney and some other guys on that interior as they want to continue to invest in the line to protect Patrick Mahomes. At number 30 for the Buffalo Bills, we're going to go with a playmaker. I think you might have to replace James Cook if he's looking for that much money. And Nicholas Singleton is a running back I really liked in this past draft class. He ended up returning to school, and another big part of the reason why I think Penn State's going to have a really fantastic year. Singleton is just a very versatile guy. He's a great receiving back. He can step up and be a really good pass protector. And that's not to mention that he's a great runner as well. Had over 1,100 yards and 12 touchdowns. He's kind of that guy that is patient, finds a hole and bursts through it. Then he's 6'1", 226 pounds. So he has contact balance. He's young. He's athletic. I think Singleton has a decent chance to be a first-round pick as well. Then for the Ravens at number 31, going to continue to look to get weapons for Lamar Jackson and Eric Singleton Jr. He went to Georgia Tech the past few seasons. He is now going to be at Auburn. He is somebody that was very productive, 754 yards, 714 yards the year before. I think at Auburn, he's going to have a good opportunity. Jackson Arnold transferred there, the new quarterback there. I think him and Cam Coleman are going to be a nice 1-2 duo for Auburn's passing attack, which will be much, much better this year. And I think he has a decent chance of getting into this first-round conversation. 5'11", 190. He's a really talented player, and have him going at number 31 to the Ravens. And then at number 32 for the Philadelphia Eagles, we're going to look on the trenches because that's what the Eagles always do. A guy I like is David Bailey he went to Stanford before. He now transferred to Texas Tech. Was really, really productive. 7 sacks, had a great pass rush win rate, and was really productive. 6'3", 240 pounds, transferring to the Big 12. He's going to have an opportunity to kind of show what he can do at another school. And I think Bailey could show out and have a really productive season. And I think the Eagles could be interested in kind of his type, as he's that kind of hybrid outside linebacker type of guy who, I think the Eagles do really like within their defense. So that is my way too early 2026 NFL mock draft, really just for fun to see some of the players to look out for this upcoming season and potentially where they might go. So let me know who some of your favorite players in this upcoming draft are, where you want your favorite team to go with their selection. If you like this kind of content, please hit that subscribe button. While you're down there, hit the like button as well. Both of those are just free and easy ways to support the channel. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in the next one.